I am watching something align in real time, and I want to describe it while it is happening because the alignment is active right now, and the observations from this window will not be available later. Mars is conjuncting the North Node in Pisces. Yesterday, Jupiter stationed direct. And the combination of these two events inside the ongoing eclipse integration window and Mercury retrograde is producing a specific quality of experience that I have been monitoring across the tracking group and in my own life for the past 36 hours. The quality is directional pull, not decision, not clarity in the intellectual sense, a physical, bodily sensation of being drawn toward something, like a compass needle finding north, not choosing north, finding it, recognizing the direction it was always pointed and no longer resisting the orientation. Let me explain the mechanics because the mechanism is precise, and understanding it helps you work with the energy rather than against it. Mars governs action, drive, initiative, physical energy, and the impulse to do. The North Node, also called Rahu in Vedic astrology, represents the point of growth, the direction your soul is evolving toward, the territory you have not yet mastered but are being called to explore. When Mars conjuncts the North Node, your action energy aligns with your growth direction, what you want to do and what you need to do for your development converge into the same impulse. Normally, these two vectors operate somewhat independently. You want things that do not serve your growth, or you know what serves your growth but cannot muster the energy to pursue it. During Mars conjunct North Node, the gap closes. Desire and direction merge, and the merged impulse has a quality of inevitability that is unlike almost any other transit. It does not feel like a choice. It feels like a recognition. You are not deciding to move in this direction. You are discovering that you were always moving in this direction, and the conjunction has made the movement conscious. The Pisces quality of this particular conjunction changes the rules of what alignment feels like, and I need to be specific about this because it will confuse people who expect alignment to feel like certainty. Mars node in a fire sign feels like conviction. I know where I am going, and I am going there now. Mars node in an earth sign feels like practicality. The next step is obvious, and I am taking it. Mars node in an air sign feels like strategic clarity. I can see the entire path, and the logic is undeniable. Mars node in Pisces feels like surrender. I cannot see where I am going, but something is carrying me there, and the carrying feels right. The direction is real, but it is not visible. The pull is strong, but it is not rational. The alignment is certain, but it cannot be explained. This is the Pisces paradox applied to destiny itself. You are being called to trust a direction you cannot see, to move toward something you cannot name, to act without a map. And the act of trusting the mapless direction is itself the aligned action. I want to draw the distinction between pulled and pushed because it is the most practical diagnostic tool available during a Mars node conjunction, and it applies far beyond astrology into how you make every major decision. Pushed action originates from the will. You decide to do something. You marshal your energy. You overcome resistance through effort. Pushed action feels like work, even productive work. There is friction between your intention and the execution. You are making it happen. The sensation in the body is tension, clenched jaw, tight shoulders, the posture of someone forcing a door open. Pushed action produces results, but the results require constant maintenance because the energy source is your willpower, and willpower is a finite resource. Pulled action originates from something outside the will. You feel drawn. The resistance is not between you and the goal. The resistance is between you and the pulling. You are holding back from something that wants to carry you forward. The effort is in the releasing, not the doing. The sensation in the body is expansion, open chest, leaning forward, the posture of someone being invited through a door that opened on its own. Pulled action produces results that sustain themselves because the energy source is alignment itself, which does not deplete the way willpower does. I have seen people accomplish more in a week of pulled action than in a month of pushed action. Not because they worked harder, because they stopped working against the current and started moving with it. During Mars node conjunction, the aligned action is pulled, not pushed. If you find yourself efforting this week, pushing through resistance to make something happen, stop and check. That is not the conjunction's energy. That is your will operating independently of the current. The conjunction's energy feels like letting go of the riverbank and allowing the current to take you. Not passive, participatory, but the participation is in the allowing. The test is simple. If the action requires you to override an internal resistance, it is pushed. If the action requires you to stop overriding an internal pull, it is pulled. This week, follow the pull. Here's what I am observing in the tracking group during the conjunction window, and this data is fresh, less than 2 days old. The most common report is a strange combination of calm and momentum. People describe feeling simultaneously at rest and in motion, as if the direction is established and they do not need to generate the movement. It is happening through them rather than by them. Several people use the word inevitable independently. 2 people described it as feeling like they are being lived rather than living. One person said, "I stopped trying to figure out where I am going, and suddenly I was already going there." That last observation is the most instructive because it captures the Pisces mechanism precisely. The figuring out was the resistance. The North Node direction was always present. It was the analytical mind insisting on seeing the destination before trusting the journey that was blocking the alignment. When the mind stopped demanding a visible destination, the body recognized the direction immediately. Another pattern I am tracking is that the Mars node conjunction is activating eclipse material in a specific way that I want to document because it connects the entire series. The eclipse reading from March 3rd showed people what was real when the borrowed light was removed. Jupiter direct began expanding what was real, and now Mars node is providing the directional force to begin moving toward the expanded real. The sequence is remarkably precise. The eclipse identified the terrain. Jupiter expanded the terrain. Mars node provides the compass bearing. People in the tracking group who did the triage exercise from March 4th are reporting that their ACT column items are now activating not through their own effort, but through circumstances aligning. Phone calls arriving, conversations occurring naturally, doors opening without being pushed. I want to give you a specific example because the specificity makes the mechanism visible. One person in the tracking group had placed a career shift in their plan column after the eclipse. It was important, but not urgent. They were going to address it after Mercury went direct on March 20th. Then Jupiter stationed direct yesterday, and they received an unexpected message from a former colleague about an opportunity that directly connected to what the eclipse had revealed about their professional direction. They did not seek this message. It arrived. That is Jupiter direct releasing held opportunity. And this morning, the day of the Mars node conjunction, they felt a pull, their word, not mine, to respond to the message immediately rather than waiting. Not an anxious pull, a calm pull. A recognition that the response was aligned and the timing was now. They moved their career shift from plan to act and sent the response. That is the entire transit sequence operating in one person's life in real time. Eclipse reading identifies the direction. Jupiter direct delivers the opportunity. Mars node provides the pull to act on it. And the action felt inevitable rather than forced. The eclipse material is not just developing anymore, it is deploying. The passive integration phase is ending, and the active implementation phase is beginning. And the implementation feels less like building and more like allowing. I want to talk about what aligned action looks like when you cannot see the destination, because this is the central challenge and the central gift of Mars node in Pisces. In every other sign, aligned action has a visible target. You can point to the destination, create a plan, and execute step by step. In Pisces, the destination is not visible. It is felt. And acting on a felt destination requires a specific kind of trust that most people have not practiced. The practice looks like this. You notice the pull, the direction that keeps drawing your attention, the thing you keep thinking about without trying to think about it, the conversation topic that keeps returning, the project that keeps calling you back even when you have other priorities. You do not need to understand why it pulls. You do not need to see where it leads. You need to take the next step in the direction of the pull. Just the next step. Not 10 steps, not the whole journey. One step. And then notice what happens after the step. Does the pull strengthen? Does the path clarify? Does another step become obvious? Aligned action in Pisces is navigated step by step, not by map. Each step reveals the next step, and the revelation only comes after the step is taken, never before. The compound effect of Mars node inside Jupiter direct deserves specific attention, because it creates an acceleration that is greater than either transit alone. And I want to be precise about why. Jupiter direct provides the expansion energy, the growth force, the sense that things are getting bigger and opportunities are multiplying. Mars node provides the directional alignment, the compass bearing that tells you which expansion to follow. Without Jupiter direct, Mars node would provide direction, but not much energy to move. You would know where to go, but lack the fuel to get there. Without Mars node, Jupiter direct would provide energy, but scatter it in all directions. You would have fuel, but no compass, and the expansion would inflate without direction. Together, they produce directed expansion, growth that knows where it is going, momentum with a compass. And inside the eclipse window, with the borrowed light already removed, this directed expansion is operating on real material only. No inflation, no false expansion, no growth of things that should not be growing. Growth of what is true in the direction of what is aligned. That is the compound effect, and it is live right now. The people who harness this compound window, who take their aligned first step during this specific combination of transits, are positioning themselves at the intersection of expansion and direction. That intersection is rare. It does not appear every month. And when it does appear inside an active eclipse window, the potency multiplies further because the material being expanded has already been tested by eclipse light. Everything inflated has already been removed. What remains is gold. And gold expands well. Here is the practical guidance for the conjunction window, which remains active through approximately mid-week. Do less planning and more noticing. The direction is not something you create this week. It is something you recognize. Spend less time analyzing what to do, and more time observing what you are already being drawn toward. The pull has been active since the eclipse. Jupiter direct amplified it. Mars node is now confirming it. Your job is not to invent the direction. Your job is to stop pretending you do not already know it. Most people know exactly where the pull is aimed. They have known since the eclipse revealed it. What they lack is not information. It is permission. Mars node in Pisces grants the permission. The current is real. The direction is valid. You are allowed to follow it even if you cannot yet explain where it leads. When you notice the pull, take one concrete step in its direction. Not the whole journey, one step. Send the email. Have the conversation. Open the document. Clear the space. Make the call. The step does not need to be large. It needs to be real. And it needs to happen while the Mars node conjunction is active, because beginnings made during this transit carry a directional momentum that sustains for months. The step is not just a step. It is a declaration of alignment. It tells the current that you are in it. And the current responds by carrying you further than the step alone would have taken you. I have watched this across every Mars node conjunction I have tracked. The people who took one real step during the conjunction window report that the step generated its own sequence. One step led to two, two led to five, and by the end of the month, the initial step had created a trajectory that felt both surprising and obvious. Surprising because they could not have predicted the specific path. Obvious because every step along the way felt like the only possible next move. Trust the body over the mind this week. The mind wants to see the destination before moving. The body already knows the direction. When the mind and body disagree about where to go, follow the body during Mars node in Pisces. The body is aligned with the current. The mind is still trying to draw a map of a river that has not been mapped yet. The map comes later. The movement comes now. Here is where it lands. The current has a direction. It found that direction through the conjunction on February 20th, refined it through the retrograde, tested it through the eclipse, confirmed it through the cazimi, expanded it through Jupiter direct, and is now actively carrying you through Mars node alignment. 20 days of transit work converging into this week's momentum. You are not starting from uncertainty. You are arriving at alignment. And the aligned action that begins this week carries every day of that preparation within it. The direction is not new. It was always there. The conjunction just made it undeniable. That is what destiny means in astrology. Not fate imposed from outside, recognition arrived at from within. And the recognition, once it arrives, does not leave. It becomes the ground you walk on from here forward.